Hey everyone, ready to dive into Bade Miyan Chote Miyan?
Do it.
You guys sent in a really cool mix of stuff for this one. Reviews, background on the movie, and even some technical details.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a lot to unpack.
We do. So, for anyone who needs a quick refresher, this movie is all about action.
Oh, yeah, tons of it.
We've got these two ex-soldiers, Freddy and Rocky.
Played by Akshay, Kumar, and Tiger Shroff. Two huge names.
Exactly. And they're up against this, well, kind of a mad scientist, right?
You could say that.
This guy, Kabir. He's got a plan to cause some serious destruction.
And it's up to Freddy and Rocky to stop him.
And get this, the whole thing plays out across the globe.
Really? Where do they go?
We're talking Mumbai,
Yeah.
Scotland, even London.
Wow. Talk about a global adventure.
And to top it all off, we've got Prithviraj Sukumaran as the bad guy.
He's always fantastic.
But here's the thing. The reviews we got are all over the place.
Really? How so?
Some people are saying it's this crazy, thrilling ride.
Makes sense with all that action.
But others are saying, kind of predictable plot.
Ah, so that's what we're digging into today.
We are. What's the real story behind Bade Miyan Chote Miyan? Is it worth all the hype?
Well, let's start with the basics, what actually happens in this movie.
Yeah, good idea.
So, according to the Wikipedia synopsis, things kick off with this attack.
Gonna attack.
Yeah, it's on an Indian convoy transporting a super important weapon.
Oh, wow. That's how it starts.
That's how they pull Freddy and Rocky back into the action.
They're trying to live peaceful lives, I bet.
Probably. But this attack, it forces them to go up against Kabir.
This scientist guy who's gone rogue.
Right, his plans are pretty messed up.
And they have to stop him before it's too late.
Exactly, it's a race against time.
I think I read something about them having a connection to Kabir, like from before all this.
Oh, you're right, they all worked on a project together.
What kind of project?
A cloning program. Top secret stuff.
Hold on, cloning. Like making copies of people.
That's the one.
So this Kabir, he was the brains behind it.
Yeah, seems like he was obsessed with this idea, pushing the boundaries.
And it got out of hand.
That's putting it lightly. His creations, they become tools for his crazy schemes.
That's where Freddy and Rocky come in.
They've got to stop him.
This whole cloning thing, it's like, it makes you think, you know?
It's not just some sci-fi gimmick.
Right, like how far is too far?
Especially when it comes to national security, things get complicated.
What happens when you have soldiers who can't die?
Big questions.
Okay, so we've got clone super soldiers, revenge, international intrigue.
Sounds like a blockbuster.
It does. But the critics, like we said, they're not all on the same page.
Right. Some loved it, some not so much.
I was looking at this review from movieticket.com.
What did they think?
They were really into the visuals, the cinematography.
Beautiful shots, I bet.
Yeah, and they said Akshay and Tiger had great chemistry.
That's important, especially for an action duo.
For sure. And they said Prithviraj was super convincing as the villain.
Always good to have a strong antagonist.
But they didn't love the story itself.
What didn't they like?
They called the script weak and the plot predictable.
That seems to be a common thing with action movies.
It does, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the spectacle overshadows the story.
You get so caught up in the explosions and the fights.
That you don't even notice the plot holes.
Makes you wonder, what were the filmmakers going for here?
Pure entertainment. Or something deeper.
It's a good question.
And speaking of going all out, did you see the budget for this movie?
How much are we talking?
350 crore rupees.
Whoa, that's massive.
One of the most expensive Indian films ever.
No wonder they could afford all those crazy action scenes.
And all that international filming.
But like you said, a big budget doesn't always mean a good story.
It definitely doesn't guarantee it.
Some of the best movies are made on a shoestring.
True. Before we move on, what about the music?
Always a key part of Bollywood.
Vishal Mishra did the soundtrack, and Julius Pakiam the background score.
They're both really talented.
They even used the original title track from the 1998 Bade Miyan Chote Miyan film.
Ah, that's a fun touch.
Little nostalgia for the fans.
I like that.
So, what stood out to you about the music?
Well, that choice of using the old title track, it's interesting.
Why do you think they did that?
Makes you wonder if they were going for that old school feel, but with a modern twist.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Speaking of blending things, the production itself is pretty impressive.
In what way?
Well, remember we talked about how the story takes place all over the world?
Yeah, Mumbai, Scotland, London.
Right, well, they actually filmed in all those places.
No way.
Yeah, and even more. They shot scenes in Abu Dhabi and Jordan, too.
Seriously? That's wild.
It's like they wanted to go as big as possible.
And they definitely did. A whole year of filming, multiple continents.
Yes, no wonder the budget was so huge.
Okay, but besides all the logistics, what about the actual filming?
Like, what happened on set?
Yeah. Were there any crazy stories, any accidents?
Well, it seems Akshay Kumar had a bit of a mishap.
Uh-oh, what happened?
He got injured while filming a motorcycle chase in Scotland.
Ouch. Was it serious?
Thankfully, no. But still, pretty intense.
Talk about dedication, right?
Totally. It shows how much effort goes into these action scenes.
And speaking of the cast, obviously Akshay and Tiger, they're like the action kings.
Pretty much. But what about the other actors?
Anyone else we might recognize?
You've got Monishi Chiller. She was in Samrat Prithviraj with Akshay.
Oh, right, I remember her.
And then there's Prithviraj Sukumaran playing the villain.
I don't think I know him.
He's huge in Malayalam cinema. This is actually his first Hindi film.
So they've got this mix of big stars and newcomers.
It's a good balance.
Keeps things interesting.
Definitely.
Okay, so we touched on the music earlier, but let's talk about the soundtrack.
The full album.
Yeah. We know they used the old title track.
For that nostalgic vibe.
But what about the new songs?
What kind of feel are we talking?
That's what I want to know. What's the vibe?
Well, based on what I've seen, it seems like a mix of everything.
Like what?
Some high-energy dance tracks, for sure.
Gotta have those.
And some more, I guess, romantic, melodic songs, too.
So a little something for everyone.
That seems to be the idea.
Makes sense. They're trying to reach a wide audience.
And the first single they released, it actually features Anirudh Ravichandran.
Wait, really?
Yeah. He's a huge name in South Indian music.
Wow, they really went all out.
It's like they're combining all these different styles, even across regions.
It's ambitious, I'll give them that.
Definitely.
But, you know, besides the music and the filming locations and all that,
What else is there?
there's another big part of this movie that's crucial to making it so visually impressive.
You're talking about the visual effects.
Exactly. With all the action and the whole cloning thing.
The VFX are super important.
They had to be top-notch.
And they didn't skimp on talent for this.
What do you mean?
The visual effects were done by DNEG.
DN.
Yeah. They've worked on tons of huge Hollywood movies.
Like what?
Dune, Avengers,
Yeah.
Endgame, Blade Runner, 2049.
Wow, those are some seriously impressive films.
They're known for their amazing VFX.
No wonder everyone's praising the visuals in this movie.
It makes sense now.
DNEG, they're like the wizards of visual effects.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the big budget, the international filming, the star-studded cast, the soundtrack with a little bit of everything, and these incredible visual effects.
They definitely went all in on this production.
But before we hear what the critics had to say, let's talk about how they marketed this movie.
How they got people excited about it.
Yeah. Did they go big with the promotions too?
They did. There were a bunch of events leading up to the release.
What kind of events?
Well, there was one in Lucknow where Akshay and Tiger performed live stunts.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah. Imagine seeing that in person.
That's next level marketing.
They wanted to give people a taste of the action.
And did it work? Were people hyped?
Definitely. They also had a big presence at the IPL opening ceremony.
The cricket thing.
Yeah. Akshay and Tiger performed there too.
Wow, they really went all out.
They wanted to reach as many people as possible.
Makes sense, especially with that huge budget.
They needed to make sure people knew about the movie.
So they created a ton of buzz, did all these big events. But how did the actual release go?
Was it a smooth premiere?
Yeah, any hiccups along the way?
Well, they actually had to push the release date back a bit.
Really? When was it supposed to come out?
Originally, December 2023.
And when did it actually release?
April 2024.
Why the delay?
They decided to release it during Eid al-Fitr
Ah, smart move.
to capitalize on the holiday season.
And how widely did they release it?
They went all out, standard 3D, even IMAX versions.
Wow, that's a lot of options.
And they dubbed it in various Indian languages.
So they were targeting a diverse audience.
Definitely. They wanted to make sure everyone could see it.
Sounds like they were pretty confident in the movie.
It had every reason to be.
But the big question is, did it live up to the hype?
How did the critics react? It's kind of a mixed bag, honestly.
Wait, so not everyone loved it.
Not exactly. It seems like Bade Miyan Chote Miyan is one of those movies that people either really like or don't.
Oh, interesting. So it wasn't the huge hit they were maybe hoping for.
Maybe not. What were the main things critics didn't agree on?
Yeah, what were the big issues?
Well, some critics really liked the visual stuff, like the special effects and how well the main actors worked together.
That makes sense.
They loved all the action and thought the whole energy of the movie was fun, but a lot of them said the story was predictable and the dialogue wasn't great.
Huh. So Kind of like that moviekeyticket.com review we talked about, looked amazing, but the story wasn't anything special.
Yeah, pretty much. Were there any reviews or Tiger?
So basically, if you just want to switch your brain off and watch some cool action,
Yeah, if you're looking for explosions and fights and don't care too much about the story,
but if you want a movie that makes you think or has a deep message,
probably skip this one.
okay, got it. But even with those bad reviews, were there any good points people made?
Yeah, actually. Even some of the critics who didn't love the movie pointed out interesting things.
Like what?
Well, Quinn said that even though the movie has problems, it doesn't show the heroes as like overly macho, which is kind of rare for action movies.
Yeah, it's always nice when action heroes can have a little fun.
Exactly, not be so serious all the time.
Did any of the reviews talk about the special effects we were discussing earlier?
They did. Even the critics who weren't crazy about the movie said the visual effects were really impressive.
Makes sense, since D&A worked on it.
They're known for their amazing work.
So even though some people didn't love Bade Miyan Chote Miyan, they all agreed the visuals were top-notch.
Pretty much. So it seems like this movie is a bit of a contradiction.
How so?
It looks incredible and has tons of action, but the story is kind of weak.
So it depends what you're looking for.
Yeah. Some people will be entertained and others will be disappointed.
It all comes down to personal preference in the end.
Exactly. If you go in expecting a super deep story, you might not like it.
But if you want to just have fun and see some cool action,
You might love it.
well, there you have it, folks. We've gone through the plot, talked about the production, looked at those different reviews, and even thought about the whole cloning question.
It's been quite a journey.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Bade Miyan Chote Miyan.
It's a movie that definitely gets people talking.
It does. Maybe after this deep dive, you'll want to check it out for yourself and see what you think.
That's the best way to decide if you'll like it.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking questions, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.